So Laurel Lindstrom is a technical writer who is trying her hand at fiction. Her first novel is due for publication later this year, and we've been waiting for it for some time, so really exciting that it's coming out. But this reading is from her second, The Ashes in the Boot, which she hopes to finish this summer. Welcome, Laurel.
Thank you very, very much. And thank you for having me as well. I really appreciate it. This story is rather different than what we've heard so far, in that it's not nearly so grown up. It's a story about a broken ankle and a stolen car, about an abusive husband and another dead husband. It's also the story of confused identities and resolution. So, The Ashes in the Boot, Chapter 1, An Unexpected Fall. Shall I just for a moment go for you? Then you've no need to go out until later. It's so wet. Smiling benignly, a tall, well-built woman in her late 50s deftly clips leads onto an ancient, drooling, and slightly scabby Labrador, and an excitable terrier bouncing up and down, making
maybe that's my
challenge. She was leaving footprints and tiny scratches on her highly polished boots and making excitable little squeaking sounds. The woman, in an expensive coat that she hadn't yet quite worked out how to pay for, soon pushed off into the dreary afternoon and became invisible. Grubby daffodils struggled to remain upright in the soggy ground, and it was raining. Holding tight to the leads, Audrey looked at the flowers with some sympathy. She headed for the dilapidated summer house on the lower lawn and said to the dogs, "Once around and back will do you, won't it, boys?" An hour or so later, and two very, very old people are peering out of their gloomy hall window, anxious for their friend and for their precious puppies. "But where are they?" said one to the other, eye to watery red-rimmed eye. And then in unison they bellowed with surprising vigour, "Deirdre, go out and look for Audrey." The marginally older one of the two immediately thought the better of it and added just as loud, "No, don't go, Deirdre. No need, we'll just..."
Sorry, Laurel, can you go back? There was people coming in and noise coming in, and I muted, and then it shifts up and I mute you instead of the person I'm trying to mute.
It's okay.
So I'm so sorry. Can you go back about 1 minute?
Oh, I don't know how much that is.
Can anyone remember when she got cut off?
Just when the elder of the two ladies was deciding not to go out.
Thank you, Jeff. And can people mute, please?
So she had just said once around and back again, we'll do it, won't it, boys? Okay. An hour or so later, and two very, very old people are peering out of their gloomy hall window, anxious for their friend and for their precious puppies. "But where are they?" said one to the other, eye to watery red-rimmed eye. And then in unison they bellowed with surprising vigour, "Deirdre, go out and look for Audrey." The marginally older of the two immediately thought the better of it and added just as loud, No, don't go, Deirdre. No need, we'll just wait until Audrey comes back." "She'll get lost again," he hissed a breathless breath at his wife. She smiled back, nodding and marvelling, as always, at her dashing husband's immense wisdom. She hadn't really heard what he said, but noted fondly the remnants of Marmite toast crumbs settled comfortably in his stubble and the way he clutched just slightly too tightly at her hand. Deirdre, already in wellies, uncomfortably on the wrong feet, ambled up and looked on, mildly confused and wondering what should happen next. Sharp-eared, she had heard her father and almost remembered getting lost once before. She wasn't sure that she had liked it and seemed to remember buses being involved. "Right," she said, making her own slightly relieved decision to remain. She used her wobbling parents in turn to steady herself as she struggled to pull off the wellies, which, as well as being on the wrong feet, were rather too tight. Darkness was reaching in to softly remind them that the day was nearing its close. The three of them, the slightly worried parents and the 74-year-old child, stayed at the window watching for Audrey to appear from the rising gloom. When the draught from the cracks in their ancient front door got a little too much, They edged away to move back to the toasty kitchen, where the kettle had been whistling for quite some time. "There she is," said Deirdre, as they turned away from the grimy window. "Oh, no, it isn't her," as she watched a woman she didn't recognize walking away from the house. By the time her parents looked out of the window, the woman, a neighbour who occasionally popped by for no particular reason, had gone. The neighbour had a strange way of starting her sentences, getting flustered and then leaving mid-sentence. I'm sorry to bother you, but I was wondering if..." And then she would turn away. It had happened several times of late. "They've left some letters. Postman," said Deirdre, triumphant. It was a Sunday afternoon, but no one challenged her. Her parents couldn't be sure that the letters weren't left over from yesterday. In Tersal House, where simply getting a bite of lunch was an achievement, knowing if the post on the mat was today's or some other day's didn't really matter. What did matter was if it was a Saturday. But today was not Saturday, because Saturday had been yesterday. Saturday was the most important day of the week for Tersal House, because that was when the dancing was on the television. Saturday was when Deirdre could practice her paso doble with online support, as Deirdre regularly explained to her parents, that the television wasn't really an online channel and that only one of the dances, if any, was likely to be a paso doble didn't really matter. It all depended on which bit of the box set made it into the DVD player. Sometimes it was the same DVD for several months. For Stephen and Margaret, the pleasure and the pride were always the same. And for Deirdre, as long as it was Saturday when she danced, not much else mattered. Once she was in costume and had finished her warming up pliés and tendus, Deirdre would declare with unquestionable authority, "I'm nearly ready to overload a video onto the Insta app." And her parents, impressed, would nod, oblivious to what she was on about. The interweb completely baffled them, but their clever and determined daughter had nailed it, they were sure. At least she might have. Deirdre's paso doble improved week to week, they were certain. Watching her in the shiny purple polyester dress she'd found in a jumble sale in 1972, prancing with feathers and ribbons tangled around her plump neck, they felt immense pride, mostly. Watching Deirdre hop and wheel is as enjoyable to Stephen and Margaret as watching the dancers on television. They love the swirl of lavish sequined costumes, wild with colour, and high heels skimming dangerously close to hems and ankles, yet rarely do the dancers misstep. Deirdre parades up and down, swirls her best, her heavy frame with arms outstretched, follows an invisible partner. He's a mysterious, raven-haired and steely-eyed Argentinian called Walter. That's the 5 minutes.
Brilliant, thank you, Laurel, and really brilliantly read. You're gonna we're gonna have to get you reading more often because you've got the knack. So very, very beautifully read. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry that we just had that little glitch in the middle, but you're quite technical, so hopefully people come in. But you're quite technical, so hopefully we'll be able to snip it out. Very enjoyable from Sue Hubbard. Any comments from anyone else?
No comments.
Well, people have got to remember to unmute, but no, I thought it was very well read and intrigued from Kate Birch. Very enjoyable. Very well read and written from Tom Carl. So lots coming in.
I love the old people descriptions.
Sorry?
I love the old people descriptions. Very real.
Well, they get worse as the book goes on, because when the woman comes back, she's broken her ankle basically. So the old people have to help her into the house, and they all fall over. And the old people quite like falling over because they've never been so toasty warm together before for years. So got this other heavy woman keeping them warm.
And Jeff Gudgeon want to know more. John, were you going to say something?
I loved it. I thought its heartlessness reminded me of Muriel Spark, and that's quite high praise, really. But no, it's not. It's wonderfully cold. It's not cold exactly. It's indulgent, but it's detached, and I love the way you do that.
Roald Dahl for adults, I think.
Yay!
Thank you. Did you like Walter? The steely-eyed Argentinian called Walter.
Oh yeah.
I really like Walter.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm going to stop the
Thank you.
recording. I'm going to stop the recording now, but thank you, Laurel. Excellent work.